Ahoy, matey. Prepare to sail the high seas and live the life of a pirate in the new Just Roll With It main campaign, Riptide. For those who don't know, Just Roll With It is a Dungeons & Dragons podcast that features Slimeskull, Grizzly, Contafiction, and Bisley. Recently, Just Roll With It is relaunched with 2 new series. The main campaign, Riptide, is DM'd by Grizzly and follows the gang as a fledgling pirate crew, while the Patreon-exclusive campaign Prime Defenders is DM'd by Bisley and shows the guys starting their journeys to become superheroes. Because of how massive both campaigns are, I've been making 2 videos to discuss them, one for each campaign. This video is going to be focused on the main campaign, Riptide, and as such I will go into more depth with spoilers in that. Not anything too recent, but there will be story spoilers here. If you want to watch the video that I did on Prime Defenders, which features an interview with the Dungeon Master Bisley himself, that video should pop up on screen right now, and should be in the link in the description as well. Before I get into Riptide, it's time to talk about how these 2 new campaigns were decided on. In order to choose a new main and Patreon campaign, Bisley, Grizzly, and Slimeskull all DM'd their own one-shots to give a look into the world that their campaigns could potentially be set in. The first of these was The Prime Force by Bisley.
You see paintings. Most of them different, but a recurring one. Pencil Man. Standing atop a sea of blood.
This followed the start of a new age of heroes spearheaded by a middle school teacher, a museum tour guide, and a delinquent student. These 3 kick off the world that serves as the main setting for the Prime Defenders Patreon campaign, in a fun superhero adventure that immediately sets itself apart from typical campaigns with its more contemporary world. Then came Tales from the Black Rose, Grizzly's one-shot which chronicled the last adventure of the legendary Black Rose pirates, and its crew of the best shot on the sea, a beefy but compassionate crewmate, and a wise Triton researcher.
These creatures, they look, I'm just going to tell you guys now, they look fucking repulsive and they look hollow. Their skin is black and leathery. Their limbs look to be elongated and skeletal. Their skulls are this perfect oval shape with very sunken, hollowed out eyes, and oozing out of like odorous pores is this black and red visceral liquid.
The campaign is built on the conceit of knowing that the one-shot is going to end with tragedy, as it's a well-known legend in the world that would serve as Riptide's setting in the future. This mythic status makes the crew that much more enamoring because you have no clue of who these people are yet, but they're clearly all important enough to be part of this legend. And the last one-shot was Mythborn by Slimeskull in the most dangerous world yet, college.
And as they say, Ragnarok, the spotlight is drowned out by hundreds of rats pouring out of the ceiling, out of these like beams and various like lights. They are just coming into fucking view. This like tidal wave, sheets of rats.
Follows a group of students of a nerd with death magic powers, the star floatball player who is the epitome of a jock, and a friendly gardener with nature powers as they work to solve the mystery of Ragnarok. The City of Mist system this story uses makes it feel super unique, with the gameplay being based almost entirely off character and investigation aspects, which shows off all of the strange and different facets of this world. Each of the one-shots immediately cultivated a unique world and story from each of the DMs and helped show what a full campaign would have the vibe of. While Prime Force and Tales from the Black Rose would be the ones to get full campaigns, something tells me that we'll be seeing more from Mythborn in the future. Now that the stage has been set, it's time to get into the story and execution of Riptide as the main campaign. It's centered on the recently formed pirate trio of Chip, Ferrin, and Gillion Tidestrider, each of which is on their own, abandoning their homes and being able to only rely on themselves and each other. They're also tied together by the strings of fate, as each of them has ties to the Black Rose pirates, with Chip himself actually having been on the ship when it crashed. Despite this bond, though, the crew is absolutely chaotic and are hardly on the same page as one another. This is due to Chip's greed and sneakiness, Gillion's heroic and honest nature, and Jay's common sense and strong survival instinct. It's probably why they're honestly a pretty terrible pirate crew, but a great band of heroes. Throughout their current journeys, they've done some typical pillaging, but really, they tend to end up saving people and becoming favored by towns as opposed to, stealing and having giant bounties placed upon themselves. Yet, it's in these instances that Riptide really shines, the varied encounters scattered across the high seas. At the moment, the story is mainly just focusing on the crew being pirates and the stuff that they run into on the ocean. But there are several larger plot threads hanging just in the background that are slowly being built towards. Each character also has multiple different major events clearly in the future, which not only tie them together, but also make them feel more three-dimensional. As always, the mystery of the Black Rose is one that needs to be solved, and the personal stakes all of the characters have will assure that happens. But for Chip, it's more than just that. It's the desire to find his adopted family, the first people who took care of him, and show them who he's finally become. Jay is also trying to find Dre, but she's on the run from her own family within the Navy as she has set out on her own path in becoming a pirate. While Gillion's grandfather was aboard the Black Rose, he didn't even know of that until recently, making his goal of being a hero to his people by saving the day on the surface even more complex due to another from his family having come topside before. That's without even mentioning the mysterious Niklaus Hendricks, who formed a pact with Gil, and the group is discovering has had his hands in an increasing amount of dangerous and evil areas of the world. Or the fact that a navy has the bounty on all of their heads. Granted, it's nothing compared to some of the top pirates the group wants to get training from, but it's still a start. The balance that Grizzly is able to strike between the small individual island stories and how he ties them into the larger plots brewing in the back is commendable, all while still balancing it so that the character arcs and moments can take prevalence when need be. See, what makes Riptide so incredibly different from almost all other D&D campaigns is its setting, the high seas. The character's home is a pirate ship, so they don't have land they'll continuously return to, making the different islands they visit each feel unique and like a welcome change of pace from the sea. It also helps them stand out in a way that they wouldn't if it were all on the same continent. Each time a new story arc occurs within an island, it could be potentially the last time that area is ever seen. But that's just the way life is as a pirate. Always moving, never settling down or stopping in one place for too long. That doesn't mean actions on those islands are without consequence though, both for the small and large scale. A government uprising the crew started in the first episode of the series continues to have long-lasting effects with the return of characters from that event and a bounty being put on their protagonists' heads even though they had been away from the area for several episodes by then. It's a thing where what they did on the island, that affects them later on. It either affects the world or it affects them. So it's not like they go there, they do it, and it's forgotten about. It's all being planned in the background. Riptide has a unique trait in the way it's set up, because it allows for the campaign and story to be altered for what works best in it. The entire concept of time is run completely differently here, as days on the ocean go by seemingly endlessly, and not always with much variation. So it wouldn't make sense to roleplay each and every one, whereas you may have to in other stories. This allows for the impact of the trio on the world to be shown more quickly. This also leads to the mini story arcs I previously mentioned, where each island can have an essentially self-contained group of episodes, occasionally with effects that have resounding change on the greater world. I love this way of building the series, as it makes things very approachable, seeing as how someone could only listen to certain arc groupings if they truly wanted to, as well as allowing for the better enjoyed story beats to return if desired, while things that didn't hit as much can be left out to sea if wanted. This unique style of storytelling is accentuated by the schedule that has 2 roughly hour-long episodes releasing a week. The rapidity of the releases helps keep the story flowing well and stops the story from having dips in interest that could potentially happen when it takes longer for episodes to be released. Now the longest wait between episodes is 4 days, and even less if you also listen to the campaign and bonus shows on Patreon. But now that you're familiar with the structure and the story of the campaign, how about we get into our 3 main characters? The first person I'll get into is the crew's captain, Chip.
With my hands outstretched, I say, "Yes, we have freed you of your curse. We ventured into the woods and stopped the evil." Was it a wizard?
Which
The wish doctor.
A wish doctor. We stopped him. Please, no, please, don't open your wallets. Oh, sir, you don't have to do. Oh, sure, yes, I will take.
Tell him to go up there?
I will take that. No, yes, we would much appreciate if you would open your hearts and your wallets for the great heroes of Luff and Lot.
Played by Bisley, Chip is an orphan who was sailing with the Black Rose pirates until the destruction of his ship, where he was separated from them and somewhat adrift in his own life for a few years after that cataclysmic event. However, in his search to find the missing Black Rose pirates, since they're the closest thing he had to a family, Chip formed a pirate crew of his own. Convincing Jay to leave her home and join him on the sea, and rescuing Gillion from the ocean when he seemed hopelessly lost, Chip found his crew. But the thing is, he's not actually the best at being a captain. Jay doesn't really respect his authority, and Gillion is more driven by his own morals and destiny than anyone he knows. Chip doesn't actually try to get them back on their side always, as he's more focused on pranking them and making schemes than true leadership. Chip is a fascinating character through it all though, as he has so many different layers. Most of the time he's goofing around or trying to figure out a way to get something, whether by stealing or coercion, yet underneath that exterior he's got some very strict codes he lives by, no doubt instilled in his youth by the Black Rose pirates. And Chip tries not to kill anyone ever, no matter the circumstances, but sometimes he's pushed up to that line. And clearly he wants his crew to be similar to everyone he grew up with as a kid. This can be seen when he talks to his adopted father figure Arlen James, and now his main goal is to find him since they were separated in the whirlpool with the Black Rose. He wants so badly for his crew to be like the Black Rose that he doesn't actually consider who Jay and Gil are at times, which can definitely cause some clashes. Through it all though, he makes a killer captain who's always got a plan, and as a rogue, that's a definite help. Some of Chip's greatest combat moments are him sneaking around and then making an elaborate plan that all somehow comes together to work.
Alright, screw it! I wanna go and I wanna get one guy's attention. Is there anywhere I could have him chasing me and then kind of slide underneath and have him run into something? I want to hurt these people, but instead of hurting them, make them hurt themselves, essentially. So, is there anywhere I could make him run into?
Just a random guy run into what exactly again?
Run into like a bar, or something like a
So essentially, I would say just roll sleight of hand for this.
15.
Okay, I would say that 15 is definitely enough to trip or use someone else's momentum to have them hurt somebody else or themselves.
All right. So what I'll do is I'll walk up to one of the guys and just kind of slap him in the face a couple times just to get his attention. Have him come chasing me, and then I wanna like dip around another person and like hold his face in front as he's like sprinting towards me drunk, and then have him bonk his head into the other guy. And I just want to say, look, they're kissing.
But the only thing that's truly unforgivable about Chip is the buzz cut he gave himself. Next up is the sure shooter Jay Ferrin, played by Condifiction.
Yeah, you stay. Yeah, I'll deal with this. And I start walking towards the front door. I guess I'm just kind of like, oh god, what do I do?
Join our revolution, Jay.
With a torch, and I'm like screaming at the crowd, like I'm up there with them.
I walk in front, like I am surrounded by the double door there. You know, like it is like a framing for me, and it just kind of zooms in on me. I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
We are seizing back the means of production, Jay.
No, you're not. What the hell? You're doing an uprising against the... He's not even in there right now, for God's sake. Jesus, you tried to help a town once. Holy shit. Okay, everybody listen up. Everybody. I pulled a medal out of my pocket. My name is Jay Ferrin of the Navy. We're gonna spread out. Everybody get the fuck away from here. Right now.
But what about our revolution?
Not today, Gil.
Jay,
I'm trying to help you people.
Okay.
She comes from a long line of Navy family members, and while we've only heard bits and pieces about their ranks in her past life, Jay didn't go down that same path. Instead, when Chip approached her one day, she went the way of her Uncle Dre and joined a pirate crew. She is instrumental to the trio actually being able to function, and not just falling apart and destroying either themselves or each other. The fight of ideals between Chip and Gillion could become so much worse had Jay not stepped in to stop it and later made the two reunite over a simple joke. She's also the only one who can actually be a normal person in social situations. Chip almost always has an angle he's trying to play either as a joke or to steal something, and Gillion is, well, Gillion. So he's always virtuous and heroic, but when it comes to being just a regular person, Jay's the only one who can really hit those marks well. She's able to read the room and figure out the best plan or way to speak to people in order to get what she wants done. This is why in the town of Laugh-N-Lot she was able to quell the mob uprising and is able to sympathize with tons of people through their journeys. That kind of balance that only Jay can manage also plays into her combat style as a ranger. She's got both long-ranged and close combat capabilities, as well as a few ways to assist her crewmates. The physical representation of how Jay is what ties the team together. But going forward, I think Jay is going to have one of the most interesting arcs due to how different her life has been since she joined Chip and Gil. Those two would already be doing this insane stuff, but there's a chance Jay would have been stuck in the Navy in an unhappy role. But now she's following in her uncle's footsteps and will likely end up with a very emotional crash course against her dad and sister within those militant ranks. For now, though, she's got her crew to back her up in those times because of how she's helped keep them together, so I can't wait to see what adventures they'll head into.
Oh god, do I get revenge or do I defend? I gotta.
You get revenge.
You're so right, Gil, you're so right. Yeah, I look down at the hair, I kind of fall to my knees and I pick it up. I'm like, it's a huge chunk, it's 12 hit points worth of hair, man.
Is that how your hit points are calculated, dude? Every time you take fucking damage. So if you go down, you just bald and you spring back up and it all grows back.
Yes, that's exactly it. It slowly kind of like falls out of my hands onto the ground and kind of flows away with the wind. A single tear.
I got one in my mouth.
Those things get everywhere. Single tear down my face. I'm gonna cast Sever's Strike again.
Go for it.
I'm gonna go for another big slap, not against the back of his head, against his face this time.
I turn around in case she kills him.
Lethal.
Lethal!
Whatever, man.
Lethal slap.
You hit. Go ahead, roll damage. You said it.
I'm joking. I don't think a slap can be lethal, can it?
This is
With
the
Zephyr
first
Strike?
blood.
It's a magical slap. I guess it could be if you really wanted to crush his dome.
That's true.
4 damage?
I just want to really, really hurt him, not kill him.
For the last main member of the crew, we have Gillion Tidestrider, who was played by Slimeskull.
Yours is now a 19. You drink it, you immediately chip. You feel that this is spiked with hot sauce, and you're not new to this. You realize it immediately as you start to drink it, and then you immediately, after you do that, you fake drink it. You stop drinking it for real, and you make it look like you're actually drinking it just out of habit.
I just chug mine.
Gillion, however, chugs his spiced orange juice, and it burns much worse because it's stacked. It's layered on from your previous orange spice drink.
We've gotten you. Now everything is fine.
That's pretty good.
Gillion's face is wet with tears and sweat.
It's all fixed now.
Gillion, don't rub your eyes. Gillion, do not rub
my
your eyes.
moisture increasing to dangerous
No,
levels.
don't touch your face. Do not touch your face.
His lips are
touching my face all over.
His lips and the eyes are swollen and red now. He looks like a bloated fish.
God, what is this?
What's wrong?
He is the champion of the undersea, the one and just completely confused by the customs of the surface world. This is the crux of Gillion's character, the fact that he is a literal fish out of water, and it's so fun. He's a Triton who was raised undersea his whole life in a culture where hardly anyone leaves and goes above water. However, he was chosen and trained to become the savior and hero, but as soon as he got to the surface, he promptly got confused and floated around aimlessly. That's when Chip found him and pulled him out of the ocean to join him and Jay, and the rest is history. But while Gillion's mannerisms and ideas being very different is largely played off as a comedy, it's instrumental to who he is as a character. In his heart, he's a hero, and as such, he puts the needs of others first at all times. Whenever someone is in danger, it's always his first instinct to help in whatever way he can. Still, at times he is a deadly serious character in his steadfast morals. Several times when the concept of murder has been brought up, he has stated his view that if it would help save the day, he would kill someone. We also saw how deeply his people consider a matter of truth and respect, as when Chip revealed that he was lying to and screwing with Gil, Gillion made an entire ice arena for them to battle in order for his honor to be restored. That's the thing with Gillion, in that he can be a very fun character in goofy scenarios, but he can also be downright terrifying to those who stand in the way of him trying to achieve his destiny. The way Slimeskull plays him also perfectly reflects that with the varied powers he has that are both used in hilarious antics or horrifying attacks. His ability to shape water alone can fulfill that, but when you also add his powers to smite things up to and including Chip himself, you got a powerhouse whose side you always want to be on.
What fucking attack roll is this? Just like a
It's an improvised weapon, so I think it's a strength-based weapon, right? So you would just roll.
Yeah, I'll just add what I usually do. Okay, 13 plus 6 is 19 plus a d4 as well. That's going to be 23 to hit. How much damage does a chip? How much does a chip do? What should I roll for him?
Do 1d10.
1d10?
1d10 is easy, yeah.
You're really giving us
Stone. 1d10 stone.
Okay, I got a 5 on the d10 plus divine smite is gonna be 2d8. 17.
17 damage with the chip strike.
With a chip strike.
17 damage. Is that included with the smite?
Yeah, I rolled really bad
So-
on smite.
All right, how do you tell
What does
me
this
that?
look like? What does smite chip look like?
Yeah, how do you tell me that this is happening?
Okay. So what I want it to be like is Gillion lights up. His hair starts glowing as well. His eyes glow. This lightning flows out of them. His coral glows as well. And as he moves this rope around, the energy moves up the rope. And Chip's like fucking buzz cut stands up, and his like face also
Wait,
begins to
do
glow.
I not have a chance to like speak about this before you swing me?
Do you wanna?
or-
Do you wanna?
I mean, I thought maybe you would explain how you're swinging me and smiting
Absolutely
with me.
not. Absolutely not. I'm just grabbing you.
Wait, okay, all right, fine.
Hey,
Chip,
Chip,
it's time to be the
soar
hero
high.
you were meant to be.
Woo! Boom! Gillion and the Tidestriders, bitch!
After all, nothing will stop Gillion Tidestrider, as it is his destiny. One interesting thing about Riptide's pacing that I've been enjoying is the flowing nature of the story, with how the ocean is the deciding factor where the crew ends up at the moment. We're still relatively early into the story of Riptide as a series, and so while big plot beats are definitely around and building for the future, there's a lot of world building being done in the current moment. The biggest mystery is that of Niklaus Hendrix, the black goo which has been seen all over, and both the cause and fate of the Black Rose's destruction. Yet the way that Grizzly approaches the building story by including small bits and pieces into the islands that hold small story arcs and fleshing out the world is brilliant. Take the recent Empress of Malice story arc. This fired on all cylinders for world building, but also tied back into the crew of the Black Rose with Chip's memories of stories and Gillion learning about his his grandfather Finn. Then we get a push towards the next plot progression, with the compass that can take our characters anywhere their heart desires. But that loops Niklaus back in, as does the curse of the Empress that they must fight off. Finally, it serves as a way to strengthen the bond of the crew after Chip and Gil's fight, and also by making them a band with a dope song. That's just one example of how the numerous islands all serve different purposes in the story, while also being able to be dissected for their best individual parts to show the fun and unique storytelling experience they provide. It also helps to show the growth, as the trio can now start choosing where they want to go and to sail to different destinations instead of kind of just floating and waiting for the sea to take them like they had to at the beginning. Of course, I couldn't talk about what Grizzly's doing well with his DMing without mentioning the incredible characters he's made. I first want to focus on his villains though, because man, can he make a good antagonist. Obviously, the big bad is Niklaus Hendricks, an eccentric but suave tiefling who you just can't help but love to hate.
There's only 3 options. Well, 2, but 3 if you want to make it interesting. My name is Niklaus Hendricks, and my profession that I've gained in my time is what people have dubbed the Wish Doctor. Or you can call me Desire Daddy. Maybe Papa Possibility, whatever floats your boat.
I have been... Are those my 3 options?
Is he hitting on
3 options for what you may call me if you wanted to call me something, yes,
I
of
have
course.
been on land for such a short time, and yet I know that 2 of those options make me feel very bad inside.
I can tell you're not from around here, that's for certain.
This whole deal of granting wishes and desires, but with heavy costs or promises, is an amazing monkey's paw-esque scenario that can have a range of different results for different characters. For the Empress and the Mayor, it's what turned them into villains, but for Gillion, it's the promise of a future task, and the implications of what it could be are terrifying. Yet Niklaus has both so much power and influence over the world that the true threat that he is has barely even been shown yet. And, as previously mentioned with the Empress and the Mayor, they are both victims of Niklaus who became villains, but tried in the end to better themselves. The Empress sacrificed herself in an order to save the people she petrified in a final act of redemption. Meanwhile, the Mayor was stripped of his power and influence willingly after the lies and deceit he spewed to his townspeople. Aside from those trying to kill our heroes, we've also got crewmates like Old Man Earl, the cranky old man who makes amazing orange juice with his feet, and is somehow more unhinged than anyone else in the party with his actions. There's also Ollie, a young kid who's on the seas and alone from his family in a parallel to Chip's early life aboard the Black Rose, with Chip himself serving as a similar father figure role to Arlen at this point. Add on top of that the numerous other characters like the 3 sisters, Julian, and the pinnacle of manhood that is Marshal John, and I could be here all day talking about the side characters. Who knows? Maybe in the future I'll make one large video with all the Riptide and Prime Defenders side characters that really stick out, and a video talking about how great they all are. Either way, the varied characters found around all the different seas have such great designs and traits that always makes them a joy when they show up. And when you're on the high seas, it's inevitable that some famous faces will show up. That's where the guests of the show come in, and it's a fun way to feature them while also building out the universe. So far, there's only been one guest, that being the charismatic Ranbu as the gambling dragonborn Clorton. But
Okay.
You're the hero they need, Clorton.
Citizens of this boat casino, you have well been mind controlled to stay here. Some of you, I know I have probably stayed here for quite a while. I would probably advise you to leave. If you want to stay, you can, but I have a feeling that they aren't going to be paying you, so it really just does not make any sense.
See if anyone wants to invest.
If you want to talk to this guy, and I gesture over to Gil, we have a wonderful plan. You can make 6 figures from your house just by talking to your friends.
Good.
Just ask him for more information. He'll be at the door.
he was a delight to listen to. His addition briefly shook up the dynamic, and with his departure, he gave some incredibly powerful items to the party with an immovable rod and a bag of holding. Plus, that mini gambling arc with tons of clothes and betting montages was just a ton of fun and an easy way to get into Riptide. As for the future, I can't wait to see what other guests appear as mercenaries, pirates, or just regular people out on the ocean waves. If it wasn't already clear, the return of Just Roll With It has the crew firing on all cylinders, and the overall increase in quality shows. Each new episode of Riptide is also accompanied by new thumbnail art that just all looks so good and helps set the feel of the episode and show more of the characters and lands in action. That small addition per episode makes it easier to visualize this world and adds more depth to the characters and their stances and designs being shown off. But not only has the consistent new art been amazing, there's been a bunch of new music for the show that really helps cement how great it is. The new main theme of Shmoove by Shady Cicada is a banger, and is the perfect hype-up music to kick off each new episode. Plus, kind of Fiction's also been making new music for the show, and it's really good, especially because he can make it with the events of the episode in mind, so it fully reflects the events. A perfect example of this is how the Lot Town theme has two variations, the first one being normal, and the second one being a slower and more cynical variant that helps emphasize the turn of the town's mood perfectly. Of course, this was all culminated in the punk rock song performed by Gillion and the Tidestriders, and I am just asking for the song to be released onto Spotify, please.
We're just getting started, so let's go. Over our heads, we're better off dead. Your heart is being misled. You can't live your life in a fantasy. I don't see the point of this misery. What are you gonna do when the weight of the world is held up against you? I know that you think it was meant to be, so go on pretending you ought to be caught up in desire, but that hole in your heart will lead to the end of you.
As the new main campaign for Just Roll With It, Riptide stands up to the plate and knocks it out of the park. Grizzly has created such a unique story in this vast ocean world with tons of unique islands and story beats all throughout. At the same time, the rest of the guys have all made incredible characters that reflect the past legends of this world, but at the same time have a common thread of wanting to define themselves and their own destinies through their journey as a pirate crew. The love and effort put into this main campaign is palpable, and with its twice-a-week release schedule, the story is moving along incredibly well. The future of this campaign and of Just Roll With It looks big, with the huge story being built both here and in Prime Defenders, the eventual return of Triple McWeedy to the show, and the nearly achieved goal of the in-person Just Roll With It studio. It's clear things are only going to get bigger and better from this point going forward. But no matter what happens in the future, I'm sure that everyone listening will just roll with it. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe if you want to see more stuff like it. Go check out that Prime Defenders video if you haven't already. I love that campaign as well. It's Just Roll With It, but they're all superheroes instead. It's a great time, so yeah, make sure you go watch these. Thank you guys all so much for the support on the Just Roll With It videos. Every single one of these I've made has been so much bigger, so much more well-received than I thought it would be, and it's really exciting to see that I can kind of talk about these more niche and, smaller series and ideas that I love, that I can talk about them and get a good response. So that's really been exciting. I'm going to, I've got that, as I teased earlier, that Just Roll With It side character one. That's a video I'd like to make in the future, probably not soon, because, the stories are still building up, and so a lot of new characters are being introduced in both series. But yeah, in the future, I'd love to make a giant, almost compendium of the different side characters of the Just Roll With It worlds. But yeah, just thank you guys so much for checking these videos out. Let me know what you guys think of Riptide here in the comments below. Who's your favorite character? What's your favorite arc so far? Any of that stuff. And yeah, please stick around for future videos. I got some really good videos coming up in the pipeline. Two ones I am very excited about are coming out next. So yeah, you are gonna want to stick around. Two of my biggest videos yet, including one of them being the most expensive video I've ever made. It's gonna be some good stuff. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Have a great day, and until next time, goodbye.